Good morning. This is a little late, but I wanted to do a follow-up on my Smith & Wesson 79G. After I resealed it, it seems to work pretty slick. So here it's in the box. So this box is weird. I don't know the standards of how these were packaged. Mine had two Smith & Wesson CO2 cylinders and some pellets here, but I've seen some have a whole pack of Smith & Wesson and a tin of pellets. Maybe that's the 22 cal. This is the 177 cal. There's a sticker. So I resealed this one, and there was a change that I made. I removed the little plunger, the little forget the proper nomenclature of this. Basically the hammer, the valve, that's what it is. I replaced it with the newer generation. It looks just like a white plastic, and it seals better than this, I was told. So I went with that. It seems to work pretty good. And this is the end result. I replaced all the O-rings, and it works really well. It's single shot. This screw here is just the only screw that holds in the barrel. The barrel is pretty much friction fit. But I'll demo, filling it and shooting it into like a cloth here. So CO2 goes here. This O-ring was actually one of the more difficult parts to get on. It's a very stiff O-ring. The needle that punctures the CO2 cartridge is right here, so that's why this is it moves that way so you can pop it. So let's go ahead. I got a new CO2 cartridge here. Just a cheapy 12 gram, goes in this direction. Obviously, otherwise it won't pop, won't puncture. And pro tip, if you want to lubricate your gun really effectively, just put a little drop of, whatever lubricating oil you use on this. So when it punctures, it will pretty much kind of disperse that oil all throughout the gun. But be careful which oil you choose, because you don't want it corroding your O-rings or doing any damage to seals. But just interesting tip. So let's screw this on. Feel the O-ring really engage. So it goes pretty much till it stops, and then the way to puncture the CO2 cartridge is to pop it here. Oh, you heard it? Yep. And it's ready to go. So I don't believe I have any pellet in it. Cock it. So I could just shoot it into this rag. Obviously, I don't recommend anyone doing this at home, but I've watched a lot of movies. I know what I'm doing. But no, it's not real powerful, and I've done this before, so I know it's not going to do any damage. But I'll shoot a pellet into this rag here. But first, I'll just dry fire it. And the cocking mechanism, one thing that kind of drew me to this pistol is how easy it is to operate. You just pull that back and take the safety off, and it's ready to go. So there's no pellet in here, but I'm just gonna, CO2 can still be damaging. Well, yeah, it's got a nice pop to it. This is a little sticky at times, pulling this back. Sometimes it hangs up in there, sometimes not. It all depends on how you adjust the screw, and the barrel alignment can make this bolt kind of stick a little more. So it gets that O-ring when it's fresh, it really seals pretty well. So just drop a pellet in, just a little wad cutter. So I've got a pellet in there. We will cock this. Let me got enough material on here. And shoot it. And let's see what we got. There's the pellet. It did a little penetrating in the rag, not much, just a microfiber cloth. And you could kind of see the rifling. Let me see if I could get a better image. One thing about these particular pistols, the barrels aren't really the best that came with it. The rifling is cut very, very shallow. They're very crude. I've heard of people taking a quality barrel, cutting it down, and the performance is just absolutely impressive. I don't plan on doing that. I like keeping things kind of original, and I'm not using this for a target pistol, but it's got some power. As you can see, it did flatten this more than I expected. I don't remember the exact shot count I got out of a CO2 cylinder. It was a lot more than I anticipated. If I were to guess, I would say it's well over 50 shots. I don't know the data on the fall off. I don't have a chronograph, but still I was impressed because I only expected maybe 30 shots out of it, and it just kept going. So yeah, it does have some pressure. It does have some power. I don't know the exact foot pound, but yeah, I picked this up a while back. Another pro tip on this particular gun. Once it has CO2 in it, don't try to bleed off. You'll never get this out. So if you ever buy one of these, take notice of the knurling on this knob to see if it's chewed up, because odds are someone had CO2 in this and they were trying to get this cap off, maybe not knowing that it was pressurized. So everything is pretty much locked into place until you bleed off all that CO2 in the system. And you'll just chew these threads up trying to get that off, and it's better just to shoot it until there's no more CO2 in it. So yeah, just keep an eye on if you purchase these before you buy it, just kind of inspect the knurling on this to see if anyone has mistakenly tried to get that cap off. What else can I say about the pistol? Oh, the safety. It does not function unless the pistol is cocked. So it's pretty much locked into place. The sights are pretty good. You know, the rear sight's adjustable. And it's got nice clicks to it. Doesn't feel cheap. Front sight is just a standard post that doesn't move, but the rear sight seems to have a little quality, and these are relatively accurate. I wouldn't consider it, match grade, but if you are a competent shooter, a good pistol shooter, you can do well with this, no doubt. I'm not the best shooter. This makes just a great little plinking gun, and it's, a lot of times with pistols, there's a lot of cocking. Like if you don't have a fancy PCP and you have a spring pistol, they get tiresome after a while just trying to recock it over and over and over. And with this, this is the easiest. It's actually, I think, more difficult to pull the bolt back than it is to cock this. So ease of use is one of the best, considering it's not a PCP. Obviously, I think those are even easier, but those are also more expensive. So yeah, this is just a follow-up on resealing it. It wasn't very difficult. And it holds air really well. Shoots really well. It's got pretty good power, and I love the look of it. It's got some weight to it too. A couple pounds for sure. And the other thing, this is the power adjustment screw. So it kind of changes the hammer that moves in and out of here. It kind of like either forces it down or allows it to go back. and the other part is the barrel, the original barrel, at least on my model. They're not the most quality. The rifling is real crude, and as you can see again, let's see if I can get a better shot of the fired pellet here. It's, you know, it's not, it doesn't have very good cuts as you would expect like a rifled barrel to look. This one obviously, you don't focus on the head because it was mashed, but even look at the skirt. You don't really see any good rifling marks. It does engage, of course, but it's just the barrel is kind of cheap. And that's pretty much it. Nothing really else to say. Again, before you buy it, check the knurling. Seal kits are available. They're not really hard to reseal. A little tricky. Like I said, I think the hardest part for me was trying to get that white O-ring over this. But after that, it's really no big deal. It holds air well. It has repeatable results, decent power, decent accuracy, got a good trigger. So, yeah, nothing too negative to say as far as if you can find one. And I do see these pop up every now and then online, so it's not like they're scarce. And it's a fun shooter if you just want to do some plinking. So this is the 177, so the Smith & Wesson model 79G.